The ballroom shimmered under golden chandeliers, laughter echoing between marble pillars as waiters glided past with trays of champagne. It was the charity gala of the year, a place where wealth wasn't just flaunted, it was worshipped. At the center of it all stood Victoria Langford, wife of one of the richest men in New York. Perfect hair, diamond smile, and a designer gown worth more than a car. She carried herself like royalty. Everyone knew her reputation, charming when she wanted to be, cruel when she thought she could get away with it. That night, she was particularly pleased. Her husband, Charles Langford, was about to close a $1 billion merger deal with a new rising company, one that promised to reshape the tech industry. Everyone had heard of the mysterious CEO behind it, Michael Redd, a self-made billionaire who rose from poverty to power. But few had ever met him. As Victoria adjusted her pearl bracelet, she spotted a tall man in a simple black suit enter the ballroom. He didn't look like the others, no entourage, no loud presence. He walked calmly, confidently, scanning the room with a quiet grace. Victoria frowned. Who invited him? The man paused near the bar, asking for a glass of water instead of champagne. A few guests turned to stare, not just because he was unfamiliar, but because of the color of his skin. He was the only black man in the room. Victoria leaned toward her friend, whispering, "I'm guessing the staff are bringing in guests now?" Her friend laughed softly, trying to hide her amusement. But before she could continue her gossip, her husband waved her over. "Honey," Charles said, "I want you to meet someone very important." Victoria smiled automatically, walking toward him with practiced elegance. But when her eyes fell on the man beside her husband, the same man from the bar, her expression faltered for half a second. Victoria, this is Michael Redd," Charles announced proudly. The CEO I told you about. For a moment, Victoria froze. The Michael Reed, the one who was about to sign their billion-dollar deal? She recovered quickly, forcing a smile. "Oh, I didn't realize. It's such a pleasure." Michael nodded politely. "A pleasure's mine, Mrs. Langford." His voice was calm, deep, steady, the kind of voice that carried both power and patience. Charles gestured for the waiter to bring wine. "Let's toast to our partnership," he said cheerfully. But as the waiter poured, Victoria, trying too hard to appear elegant, gestured dramatically, and her glass tipped. Crimson wine splashed across Michael's crisp white shirt. The room went silent. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Michael stepped back, blinking as the wine soaked into his clothes. "Oh, my God," Victoria said, but her voice wasn't apologetic. It was sharp, defensive. "You really should be careful where you stand." Charles froze. Victoria? Michael held up his hand calm. "It's all right," he said quietly, grabbing a napkin. "Accidents happen." But the tone of the room had shifted. People were whispering, smirking, watching how Victoria would handle it. She didn't stop. "Honestly, these things happen when people don't know how to carry themselves properly at formal events," she said with a tight laugh, trying to save face. Michael's jaw tightened slightly, not in anger, but in quiet disappointment. He simply smiled, dabbed at his shirt, and said, "You're right, Mrs. Langford. Some people still have a lot to learn about manners." Then he walked away. Victoria brushed it off, pretending nothing happened. "What?" "It was an accident," she told her husband. "He'll be fine. He should have been more careful." But Charles looked pale. "You have no idea who you just offended." The rest of the evening was tense. Michael didn't return to the table, and Charles could barely focus. He tried calling his assistant, but his phone buzzed with a single message. A meeting canceled. The next morning, Charles woke up to chaos. His phone rang nonstop. "Sir, the deal's off," his CFO stammered over the phone. "Reed Technologies just pulled out completely." "What? Why?" No explanation. "They just said they no longer align with our company's values." Charles dropped the phone. Victoria, still her silk robe, frowned. "You're kidding. He wouldn't cancel a billion-dollar deal over spilled wine." Charles turned to her, eyes blazing. "You humiliated him, Victoria, in front of everyone. The man built himself from nothing, and you treated him like—" He stopped himself, shaking his head. "Oh, you don't even understand what you did." Victoria's pride flickered, but she quickly masked it with annoyance. "He's overreacting. We'll fix it." But the calls kept coming. Stock prices dipping, investors panicking. Reed Technologies was the key partner, and without them, everything began to crumble. Within 48 hours, the Langfords lost more than $300 million in market value. By the end of the week, Charles's empire was on the verge of collapse. Meanwhile, in a quiet cafe across town, Michael sat with a young woman wearing a simple coat and a nervous smile. "You really canceled the deal?" she asked softly. Michael nodded. "I did." She hesitated. Or was it because of what she did? He looked thoughtful. Partly, but it's not just about her. It's about who they are. People like that, they forget humanity when they gain power. They think money defines worth. The young woman smiled faintly. "You always said you'd build a company that respects people, not just profits." Michael's eyes softened. Exactly. 2 weeks later, news broke that Reed Technologies had signed a new $1.02 billion partnership with a small but promising startup led by a single mother from Detroit. Her name was Angela Brooks. She had once worked for Langford Industries but was laid off during budget cuts. She'd written to dozens of investors, including the Langfords, asking for a chance. None replied, except Michael Reed. He'd seen something in her proposal: innovation, humility, and courage. When a reporter asked why he'd chosen her over the Langfords, Michael simply said, "Because she reminds me that kindness still exists in business." Meanwhile, Victoria couldn't show her face in public. The media had caught wind of the gala incident, and clips of her accident flooded the internet. Billionaire's wife insults black CEO. Loses $1 B deal. Read the headlines. Her phone rang constantly. Old friends are checking in. Journalists begging for a statement. PR teams offering damage control. But no apology could undo the damage. Her husband's company was gone. Their assets frozen. Their mansion up for sale. For the first time in her life, Victoria Langford faced silence. No cameras, no applause, no respect. Months later, on a rainy evening, Victoria stood outside a community center, waiting for her car. Her coat was damp, her eyes tired. She had just finished volunteering, something she started after everything fell apart. Inside, she'd helped serve dinner to underprivileged families, people she once looked down on without a second thought. A young boy tugged her sleeve. "Miss Victoria, thank you for the meal," he said shyly. She smiled faintly. "You're welcome." As she stepped outside, a familiar black car pulled up. The door opened, and a man stepped out. Tall, calm, wearing the same quiet expression she remembered. Michael Reed. For a moment, neither spoke. The rain fell softly between them. Softly between. Finally, Victoria whispered to Mr. Reed, "I never got the chance to apologize." He nodded slowly. "You just did." She looked at him, confused. He smiled faintly. "I didn't want revenge, Mrs. Langford. I just wanted you to see what really matters." Then he walked past her into the center to meet the same family she had just helped feed. Victoria watched as the doors closed behind him, and for the first time in her life, she didn't feel anger or shame, just a quiet understanding of the lesson she had never wanted, but always needed. In another part of the city, Angela Brooks stood in her new office, holding a photo of her young daughter. Her company had just launched its first major project with Reed Technologies, an initiative providing affordable tech to underfunded schools. As she smiled, Michael appeared at her door. Congratulations," he said warmly. "You've earned this." Angela turned, eyes shining. You believed in me when no one else did." Michael chuckled softly. "That's the thing about believing people. Sometimes that's all it takes to change everything." The world watched as Reed Technologies rose higher than ever, not through greed or arrogance, but through humanity. Ooh. And somewhere far from the headlines, Victoria Langford quietly continued serving at that same community center every weekend. Not because she had to, but because, at last, she wanted to.